Okay, let's unpack this. We've been doing a pretty deep dive into what's happening in Zambia recently. Lots of strategic moves, some really big funding announcements. It seems like it's all rapidly shaping the country's future, particularly around, technology, developing talent, and digital infrastructure. And our sources show this interesting mix, don't they? It's like dedicated grassroots efforts meeting major international investment.
It really is. And our mission today, I think, is to get past the headlines. We need to pull out the actual details, the specific programs, these acceleration strategies, the key funding, and then connect those local things like, say, the expanded MindTech Accelerator or that targeted funding for women in tech. Connect all that to the huge U.S. $100 million World Bank grant, because that grant is really aimed at national digital inclusion. We want to show you how these pieces actually fit together, like a cohesive strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And the sources kick off with this really sticky metaphor we found quite interesting: innovation draped in denim. The idea being that utility, durability, resilience.
Yeah, like
So,
denim, right?
yeah.
It's built through iteration. It's about adapting to change, showing character when things get stretched.
That metaphor really works, doesn't it? Because when we talk about building tech infrastructure or, sustaining startup growth in these fast developing economies, we're not looking for quick fixes, these sort of flash in the pan ideas. We need stuff that lasts. Durability. The solutions being developed, they absolutely have to withstand the shifts in markets, funding, policy. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it frames the whole discussion perfectly. It suggests Zambia is really focused on building tech with staying power.
Okay, so let's start with fueling that foundational innovation,
Hmm.
because that seems to be where the most immediate things are happening right now. We've got a pretty significant update from the Women in Tech program, the one sponsored by Standard Chartered Foundation and Village Capital. That partnership seems key, providing the financial and mentoring structure. Oh, absolutely vital. And the immediate kind of high-stakes event we need to flag is that pitch day. It's coming up fast, October 10th. This is really the culmination of their whole journey, right? It follows their final in-person session, the Entrepreneurs in Residence thing. It's that moment where all the planning, all the strategy has to translate into a really compelling pitch for investment.
And we see that 10 inspiring female founders are going to be presenting their solutions. And the money involved is pretty substantial for that stage. 5 winners will each get $10,000 in funding. When you're scaling up that kind of non-dilutive capital, it can make a huge immediate difference, scaling operations, maybe reaching new markets.
Definitely. And if we shift gears slightly, but stick with scaling innovation, look at the MindTech Accelerator 2025. Here's where that durability idea gets really tested, I think. This thing started strong, attracted, 350 initial applicants, which then got narrowed down to 10 really strong pitches in front of the judges.
Right. And initially, the sources suggested, the standard approach, announce a top 5 cohort. That's usual for these accelerators. But then, this is fascinating, the sources reveal this unprecedented expansion. Apparently, following support from the UNDP and a direct call from the Minister of Technology and Science, all 10 startups are now joining the full acceleration phase. That's 3 months, running October through December 2025.
That expansion is such a key indicator. It screams confidence, doesn't it? And it's strategic. When you see a cohort size double like that, especially at the urging of high-level government and international partners like UNDP, it signals that the long-term value they see in having a diverse set of tech solutions for mining, well, it outweighs the usual worries about spreading mentorship thin or diluting capital. It feels like the government isn't just hunting for 1 or 2 winners. They're trying to seed a whole ecosystem of innovation around mining.
But that does raise an interesting question, though, about resources, doesn't it? I mean, scaling from 5 to 10, that's double the demand for mentors, coaching, investor readiness, all that stuff. Strategically, is there a risk of spreading things too thin? Or is the potential benefit capturing more innovative solutions just worth that risk? We have to assume the minister and UNDP see a path to a long-term return on, well, all 10 of them.
Exactly. It shows they're committed to volume, to diversity of solutions. They recognize you just can't predict which specific idea, whether it's in logistics, safety, or environmental monitoring, is going to be the big breakthrough. So they're investing in the whole basket, essentially. And we shouldn't forget the other end of the pipeline either. We also saw investment right at the beginning stages of talent development, that 12-week Coding and Robotics for Kids program.
Right, targeting kids aged 6 to 18. Kicking off late September in Lusaka, teaching coding, building robots, problem solving. This is that foundational investment, isn't it? Making sure that when those mind tech and women in tech companies need local talent in, say, 5 or 10 years, Those skills are already being nurtured right from primary level.
It's a really holistic approach, from teaching a 6-year-old basic logic all the way up to accelerating an established mining tech company.
Yeah, that sets us up perfectly for the next big challenge we saw in the sources, closing Zambia's critical skills gap. Because we see the money flowing to entrepreneurs now, but, well, all that innovation needs a skilled workforce behind it, right? A future-proof workforce. Which brings us to what BongoHive is doing with their data collection.
Right, the sources highlight two separate surveys BongoHive is running. BongoHive being, Zambia's big tech and innovation hub. And these surveys are intricately connected. Together, they create this really powerful feedback loop to tackle that skills gap head on.
So first, they're surveying business owners, asking them very specifically what skills are missing in the graduates you hire. This is the employer perspective, isn't it? The sort of reality check. What the market actually needs versus maybe what the academic system is producing.
And then, crucially, the second survey is for professionals, people already working, asking them about their own experience, what skills really mattered in their careers, and importantly, what did their formal education leave out? This is the alumni perspective.
And if we connect this back to you, the listener, this kind of dual feedback loop is just vital. It's a really effective way to optimize education so it meets actual industry needs. It helps pinpoint exactly where the curriculum might be falling short so educators can adjust rather than just, teaching subjects that might be interesting academically but maybe not so relevant economically.
Yeah, it helps bridge that classic disconnect, where graduates feel ready, but employers are maybe a bit disappointed. It's about tuning the talent supply chain itself.
Yeah.
And speaking of opportunities, we saw an interesting mention in the sources about the creative economy.
Ah, yes, that podcast episode snippet highlighting a persistent issue, apparently, that the same, 10% of creators tend to snag all the gigs, all the opportunities. It suggests it's not just about talent, but maybe access or information asymmetry.
And it stressed how important it is to talk openly about money, about contracts, making sure young creatives understand the specific professional skills they need to actually thrive, not just rely on, passion or hope for exposure. It pushes the conversation towards practical economics, financial sustainability for creators.
Okay, moving towards more specialized skills, we also need to cover that upcoming symposium. The one focused on cybersecurity and AI in Africa's pharmaceutical and health industry. That's happening October 14th, 2025 in Lusaka.
And the focus there is extremely critical because digital transformation in health is moving so fast across the continent. The symposium's goal is figuring out strategies to protect patient data, medical platforms, all those connected devices from cyber threats, which are always evolving. Digital health offers amazing potential for access, but if the security isn't robust, well, patient data is incredibly sensitive. It becomes a huge vulnerability.
And we noted the featured expert is Will Road, founder of QuantaHub 2. He brings deep expertise in AI, cybersecurity, and digital health systems. His involvement signals they're taking data integrity very seriously.
It really raises that urgent question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does a country protect this critical digital health infrastructure while it's trying to accelerate digitization efforts at the same time? It's a balancing act. And we see community action echoing this theme too, that Mukuba Unipod Amref Unleash Hackathon, focusing on Innovate for a Healthier Zambia, happening October 1st to 3rd in Kitwe. Health innovation is definitely a central theme.
Right. And all these specific kind of local efforts, the hackathons, the grants, the skill surveys, they're all operating within this new, massive national framework. Which brings us to the centerpiece, really, of our source material. The Digital Zambia Acceleration Project. DZAP, for short. This is the big one. The macro-level investment giving all this local activity a national runway.
This is absolutely the core context for everything else we've discussed.
Yeah.
The World Bank has officially approved a huge grant, US $100 million for this DZAP initiative. And this isn't just, funding for one single project. This is meant to fund a national transformation.
So what does that mean strategically? What's the goal? Well, the primary aim is widening internet and digital service access across the entire country, really bridging that digital divide. But the grant is also very specific about inclusion targets. There's a strong, explicit focus on digital inclusion for women and girls, persons with disabilities, and other marginalized communities, making sure the benefits are shared broadly, not just hitting the easy-to-reach places.
And the project defines its impact by targeting specific, high-value economic sectors. DZAP is designed to support tangible development in 3 key areas. First, agriculture. specifically giving farmers access to things like timely market data, weather forecasts, best practices, all via digital platforms.
Yeah.
Second is education through e-learning initiatives, trying to overcome those geographical barriers to schooling.
And the third is health,
Yeah.
facilitating digital health records, which, as we know, can massively improve continuity of care and just overall health system efficiency. It's hard to really overstate how transformative that can be, right? Consistent, secure access to market prices for a rural farmer, or reliable e-learning for a student miles from a city.
Exactly. And to actually make this huge transformation happen, the project is built on 4 strategic pillars. We need to understand these. These are essential for its success. The first one is affordable broadband. Makes sense. You can't digitize if people can't afford to get online.
Pillar 2 is creating interoperable and secure platforms. Now, interoperable, for our listeners who aren't tech specialists, that's really key. It basically means making sure different government systems, health systems, etc., can talk to each other seamlessly and safely. Crucial for things like tax records, digital IDs, and especially those digital health records across different clinics or ministries.
Then the third pillar focuses on delivering those high-impact digital services within the priority sectors: agriculture, education, health, making sure the tech actually delivers value. And the final crucial pillar, program management and capacity building. They aren't just throwing money at hardware. They're funding the training, the systems needed for local people to manage and sustain this whole thing long term.
And it's important to note the alignment here. The World Bank is very clear. DZAP lines up directly with Zambia's own Vision 2030 for national development, and also with the World Bank's own partnership strategy for 2025-29. So this isn't just a temporary cash injection. It's a structural, coordinated investment aimed at long-term stability and growth.
Absolutely. What we've seen today looking through these sources is just incredible energy. From that resilience metaphor, the denim, suggesting long-term durability, to the concrete things like $10,000 grants for women entrepreneurs, the scaling up of the MindTech Accelerator, all the way up to this massive $100 million national project for digital inclusion. The focus is so clearly on building a durable, resilient, and, importantly, inclusive digital future for Zambia, touching basically every major economic and social sector.
Yeah, the journey we've traced today shows this huge simultaneous push, scaling up efforts while building future talent, moving from, attracting 350 applicants for something specific like MindTech and tackling skills gaps with BongoHive to securing a $100 million grant for national digital services across health, education, agriculture. And it's all happening now concurrently.
Right.
It's breathtakingly ambitious.
It really makes you wonder about the speed of transformation, doesn't it?
Right.
Given this massive influx of focus of funding across such diverse areas from deep mines to vast farmlands, how quickly are we actually going to see measurable shifts? Shifts in Zambia's global standing, maybe, as a hub for tested, tech-driven solutions.
And what does this pace, this acceleration, mean for other developing economies facing similar challenges? They're all trying to balance that immediate need, supporting grassroots innovation, with the huge task of securing macro-level infrastructure investment. Zambia seems to be pulling both levers at the same time, quite deliberately. The next few years will really tell us if this layered approach, if it's the blueprint for success.